Hello and welcome to another episode of Seriously in Business. I have a really exciting episode for you today. I'm interviewing my dear friend Ellie Griffin from Island Village, and she is not just a friend. She actually started out as a client and a friend of a friend, and she joined a couple of my programs and then moved into another one of my programs, and then now we've actually caught up in person a few times. I visited her in Tassie and she's came across here to Melbourne to hang out with me. I'm not quite in Melbourne, I'm a bit out of Melbourne, but that's not the point. And so I wanted to share her with you for two reasons. The first one is because she is just a genuine, amazing person, but she has some really cool thoughts on creativity, and she's running a workshop on that soon. But in essence, obviously as a designer and as people and as clients and consumers who watch and listen to my content, creativity is usually in a box of like, it has to be designy or arty or painty or drawy. Whereas Ali kind of opens that up a little bit and shares kind of what the deeper impact of creativity can be in our lives, and that it actually can look really, really different, and how we can kind of implement that into our everyday lives and what the benefits of that can be. So I'm so excited to share that with you. And I also want to share with you her experience of the Co+Creation Club. So I have a program where you can work with me to co-create with me. And so it's a small group container that I run only twice a year, and it's coming up very, very soon, which is why I wanted to let you know about it. And you can kind of join this with me and work with me for 10 weeks where we kind of look at your branding, look at your graphics, and actually teach you design and actually help you make decisions around your branding. And so together we'll actually design things live, like jump on canvas, screen share, and actually create together, co-create together. And I want to share with you Ellie's experience of what that looked like for her and how that impacted her business, how that impacted her creativity, how that impacted her confidence and her business's success as well. And so I'm really excited to share this episode with you. So let's jump into it. Hey, so welcome, Ellie, to the podcast. I'm so thrilled that you're actually here. I kind of was surprised that I hadn't had you on already.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
It'd be so good. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Ellie is one of my past Co+Creation Club students, which I'll tell you more about that at some point. But we've kind of also become friends. Like I've caught up in real life a couple of times, and it's really, really nice. And so I wanted to introduce you to Ellie because one, I wanted you to hear her experience at the club, but two, she's really incredible in her own right and has some really cool thoughts on creativity and how that kind of can look in our lives. And so I wanted to pick her brain around that and kind of open your eyes to what that might look like in your own lives as well. But before we dive into that, Ellie, I would just love to know, like, how did you get to here in your business? Like, what led you to starting a business, and what, I guess, let the listeners know a little bit about what your business actually is as well.
Sure. So I'm a women's circle facilitator, and I've just started to facilitate events as well. But how I got into it was that, so on maternity leave for my first baby, so I've got two babies that, children, 2 and 4. And on my maternity leave for my first one, I just got in a bit of a, it was great for the first few months, and then, got into a bit of a slump on mat leave and didn't really, I kind of needed a bit of drive and a bit of purpose. Because, as any mother knows, you've got a lot to get up for and to do through the day, but you kind of lose yourself in that. So purpose for myself was what I was looking for. So I actually started, because I wasn't getting much time alone, so I started having like just girlfriend catch-ups. So we'd go just to our local hall and just catch up so that we were, away from the house, out of the house, away from our kids and just having some time for ourselves. So that's how it started. And then from there, I was putting so much time and so much effort into sort of creating something to talk about. So we sort of started just as to get out of the house, and then it kind of evolved into something a little more structured. So then I started, asking other people to come along as well, not just my friends. And then it just sort of evolved from there, and now it's a little business. So yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love when things kind of start from like a really big heart, like you need something for yourself. You're like, I'm just going to create this, and actually this could be really helpful for other people. So let's just make this a thing and dive into it. That's so awesome. And so I know that you've got your time split over being a mum and you live on a farm and all these things are happening. What's kind of on a work day, what's an average day in your kind of life look like? I always love getting behind the scenes inside.
So today and yesterday are sort of classic examples. So I have 2 days for myself through the week where the kids are supposed to go to daycare. So I was nursing for one of those days. So I'm a nurse in my other life. And so I've taken some leave from there because the kids are just getting sick from daycare all the time. So I sort of kept them home as much as I could. And just to be around when I can, when they are at daycare and they do get sick, it's just easier for me to be at home so I don't have to, pull myself away from other work. So it's kind of, it's good to have these days, but sometimes I do try and, put my work on these days and it just doesn't happen because I've got kids home. So I've had to ship my kids off for an hour this morning just to be able to come and sit here with you. But but we don't do much farm work, but we do spend a lot of time on the farm with the kids just because it's impossible to do much work with the kids. But so we do a little bit of, we spend some time on the farm and then, we have our day-to-day stuff here. And we try and get out and about a bit. And my work sort of, my women's circle work just sort of slots in around them. So
yeah. I kind of love that about running our own businesses is that it has that flexibility to slot in, and like there's obviously more we kind of always want to be doing, but at the same time it can go at the pace that suits our life for this season. And I like that it's able to do that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's hard because you've got a lot of pressure on yourself to be fully present with the kids or fully present with your work, and it just you really need to give yourself that permission to do that. But when you've got days that sort of are thrown out, it does make it tricky to do that.
It does. I was venting to a friend yesterday. I was like, I feel like I'm just not present at work or with my kids. So this is really fun. It's great in the middle kind of everything, but find the balance at some point. Although people say balance is not really achievable.
Maybe not.
Anyway, okay. Let's move on to creativity now. So like I think people either usually call themselves creative or not creative, or like they just put themselves in a box or not in the box, or they don't see the importance of it. Like, why do you think creativity in everyone's life is really important? And what is even creativity in your mind?
So I think this is where people get a little bit misled, I think, because creativity, as in society looks like art. It looks like painting or drawing or even, graphic designing and, just doing something, stereotypically creative.
Yeah.
But it's really not. And there's so much more to it. And I think this is kind of where it's come to for me, because so I've been doing a lot of reading and sort of looking into creativity and what role it plays in our life. And what I've sort of come up with is actually a little, I don't even know what you call it, like a diagram.
A framework model thingy. Yeah.
A little model thingy, where you actually are looking, like creativity plays a really big part in your purpose. So you've got, so in my little model, I've got curiosity, connection, and creativity. And those three things together create your purpose or show your purpose. Yep. So when you're feeling connected, which, obviously is a primal need for humans, because if you're not connected and you're not communicating with the people you're around, then, I mean, not so much these days, but caveman days, that you needed that to save your life. So, so that's a huge part of it. And curiosity as well. So you need to be sort of, not investigating, but just being open-minded and open-hearted, if that's a word, and just sort of delving into the why of the world and the why of your decisions, and what's, how you're bringing things into your life, and if you are or if you're not. And creativity is the other part of that. So what creativity might look like, for the average person, I suppose. So for me, as an average person, I don't paint, I don't draw, I don't do, I don't have any specific art that I do. But I love writing, and I love movement, and I love doing, the day-to-day things like cooking, which, I mean, I try and
Really
involve
creative.
it is really creative, and
Yeah.
I love involving my kids in cooking. But lately I've actually been saying, you know what, I just want to cook this by myself, because I just want to enjoy it. Like, I don't want it to be, I just want to do it the way I want to do it. So for me, that's, that's sort of, delving into my creativity. And but another thing that I do with the kids, which is, it's helpful having kids to sort of push you into creativity, but you can definitely do it by yourself as well. So every night before dinner, we'll go out and we'll have a bounce on the trampoline, or, lie on our backs in the grass and look at the clouds and, see what pictures we can find, or, so that sort of stuff. So it can look so different for everybody, but, and I also just have a lot of fun just doing a bit of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's graphic designing, but just a bit of a playing around with Canva and stuff, just to see what I can come up with. Yeah,
that's so good. I love that little model of this idea that if we put those three kind of things together, that helps to kind of give us like some direction and kind of purpose. And I'm interested to see, like, now that I've kind of heard that from you, paying attention to cultivating, I guess, those three kind of areas, and seeing what clarity that might bring. And I think creativity is really underrated in terms of, like, I've been learning a little bit recently about the importance of play, and the importance of just like letting your inner child just chill for a little bit and enjoy just being, rather than having to be productive or having to do this or having to do that. And so how can we, you nudged it a little bit there, some of the ways that you put creativity in your everyday life. What are some other ways that we can really cultivate that creativity in our everyday lives, whether we feel like we're naturally creative or whether we feel like we've got no bones? Like my mum always says, like, I get my creativity, my artistic side from my dad. My mum is an accountant, math, numbers, that kind of side of her brain. My dad is a cook, a blacksmith, like he can draw, like all of those things. And so my creativity, arty side comes from there. But my mum is also still wildly creative. Like sometimes she'll like see some shells, and she'll see a friend that put some cool shells in a jar and make this cool little display, or find some cactuses and put them in a little, like that like she's still really creative, but she would never have said that about herself until you kind of play with those things. And so how can we cultivate creativity in our just everyday life?
I think it's funny that you say that, though, because because numbers and playing with numbers and moving things around is also really creative.
That's so true.
Like, you still have to be getting curious in your mind about how things work. And just because it's, just because there are rules around numbers doesn't mean it's not creative. So
there's still rules in design.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So I think also what you said about play is essential, because once you stop playing and you stop using your imagination, that's when you lose your creativity. And movement is another big thing. So whether it's exercise at the gym, or going for a walk, or dancing, dancing's a huge thing for us in this family, because you get to move that energy, and you get to release a little bit and have fun doing it. So it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a no-brainer, the dance one and the movement one. But probably the biggest thing for me that I have found is switching off from technology. So once you move away from TV and your computer and your phone, and you actually have to use your brain, then that's when you come up with all your goodness. You know, when you're in the shower and there's no technology, or you know, I find that when I'm water skiing, that's when I have nothing else to distract me. And I'm on the water and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. And then I forget them by the time I get back. So because you've got no notepad to write anything down, right?
No, that's the one good thing about technology is a permanent notepad with us to write down said ideas. Like sometimes I'm in the shower and I'm like I usually keep my phone like just outside the shower door, and then I just like squat down and like dry my hand and like write down this random idea that I had so I can remember it for later. Yeah, right. Like creativity kind of, I guess, cultivates ideas and different ways of thinking. Like creativity, like a way I like to think about it is just like learning to think in a slightly different way than just straight, like where can you find different solutions and where can you find different ways of doing things. And we often fill our brain with so much technology that we don't allow it that space to just be. And then your brain's like, have you thought of this? And you're like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, exactly. There's so much beauty in being bored, right? Because you actually have to think, and you allow your brain enough space to be able to let those ideas in.
Yeah, I love that so much. Like the random business ideas that I have when I'm not thinking about business ideas, like just doing things like, because when we're just always surrounded by everyone else and what everyone else is doing, then we just do things that same way. But when we stop and think, well, actually, what if I did things a little bit different? You're like, there's no reason that couldn't work, but that wouldn't have happened unless I allowed myself that space to do that and think that way.
That's right. There's so much information overload. Just so much information input all the time. Yeah.
And so I know you're running a creativity kind of day soon. What kind of stuff are people doing in that day? Like, how are you cultivating creativity there?
So what I was saying about the movement. So we're doing some yoga, because what I wanted it to be was I wanted to include different aspects of creativity. So movement. So we're doing a sound meditation as well, because music and sound also is something that plays a really big part in creativity. It's really hard to dance without music.
Hard.
It's possible, but it's tricky. And so I've tried to incorporate different aspects of creativity. And I also want it to be an educational thing, like, something to actually, build yourself, self-development and growth and skills, and a bit of self-regulation as well. So there'll be activities around that, and and then the other, and we'll have a photography workshop as well. So something a little bit more arty as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like such a good day. If you're in Tassie and you're free like July the what?
15th.
July the 15th, then get onto that. Like anywhere in Tassie, just I think converge.
Yeah.
Tassie's not that big. You can go for a couple hour drive. All right. So now I want to shift gears a little bit, and it's obviously still very creative spun, but more of the classic creativity. So you joined the Co+Creation Club, which for anyone who doesn't know is pretty much, it's literally called the Co+Creation Club, which you get to co-create with me as a designer. So instead of me doing the work for you, or instead of me just saying, here's a course, have fun, do it by yourself, it's kind of like you join me for a few weeks and we kind of work together to create stuff for your business. And so it's actually going to shift from being a 6-week program to being a 10-week program for the next coming round, just for your information, Ellie. And pretty much like we have like a small group where we kind of just jump on calls regularly and get to actually just flesh things out together. And you got recommended to me from a friend of yours, who's also a friend of mine. Mutual friends is how people would normally say that. And you joined my DIY Design Biz course, and you were doing some really cool stuff there. But I noted that and you were showing up really well. I was like so proud of you for that. But I noticed that you were a little bit like, you couldn't quite work out what your business needed from you. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think I was just a bit scattered, and I just couldn't nail anything. So I was kind of reaching for a different font, and then reaching for some different, elements, and none of them were really clicking with me. And then when I thought I found some, I didn't know how to use them. And and they were just, nothing just really matched up.
Yeah. And so was that the main reason you joined the club, to kind of beat that, or was there something else going on?
Yeah, no, that was a lot of it. And also, like, I had done, I think, all bar one of your lower priced like masterclasses. And so I was like, I'll be able to do this one and then I'll have it nailed, and I'll be able to do this one, I'll have it nailed. And I didn't.
It's like as much as I can teach you, there's still this certain goodness in actually working with someone to just get like, do this, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense, rather than trying to do it all DIY style.
Yeah, and I think having you there to do it like in real time as well, because like a masterclass is great where someone's talking at you and you can sort of take what you can from that, but it doesn't allow you any question time, it doesn't allow you any play time, it doesn't allow you any flexibility in actually coming up with ideas and going, oh, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this. Yeah. So I think that's what the beauty of the Co+Creation Club was, that we had that time, and that time many times, to be able to bring all that stuff together and really focus on choosing my elements and my colors and my fonts and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
that's cool. And so during that experience, what was like the biggest aha moment for you? You're like, that kind of clicks now.
Well, firstly, bringing all those things together, and I was like, oh, it feels good. These are the colors that I still want to use. So it was easy, to sort of do stuff when I had all those things together, when they all came together. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing has been that when you've got all of those things set, when you've got your foundation set, you can then actually go away and do stuff by yourself. But, so I could go and create some designs and they worked. Yeah. And I knew that they worked. I did, I spent a lot of time back and forth, but once I figured out how to, once I figured out how to work them together and I knew that they worked well, then I was like, oh, okay, I've got it.
Yeah, that would be such a good feeling to, I guess, this relief of actually, no, look at me. Like, I'm really sure of these colors. I'm really sure of these elements. I'm really sure of this font. And like, I've chosen them for a reason. And I know that they work together. And now I know how the heck to actually use them together. And then like, you're so good at using things like the different design rules, like hierarchy and space and choosing readable things. And like you've got that nailed as well from all the different learnings we've done together. And just being able to see you like, this, like take that little package of design principles and your brand and then put it together like all the time for a brand new graphic that you're just creating from scratch, but not from scratch because you've got this foundation is so, so cool to see.
Yeah, and it just makes it so much more fun. And I think that was the other thing too, is that it was such hard work and I wasn't having fun with it. And, and when you're trying to run a business sort of through that, like through Instagram, which is my main platform. Yeah. You want it to look nice and you want it to feel good to you. And, if it doesn't feel good to you, it's not going to feel good to anyone else. So yeah, when you know that you've got all of that stuff together, it just makes it so much easier.
And I think you're so right. It's hard to run a business without having the visuals unless you're unless the only way you get marketing is through word of mouth or like radio ads that are not visual. But other than that, like you've got your website, your social media, your flyers, your business cards, all of these different things and your workbooks and your presentation slides, like the lists are endless. And then I've seen business owners so often getting just stopped and held back from either putting themselves out there or actually creating stuff that's going to help their audience because they just don't know how to do those things. And I think, for any business that's on Instagram, it's so, so crucial that you know these things because social media is flipping hard enough without also feeling held back by your graphics, let alone thinking about your messaging and your content and your audience and growing your Instagram and all these different things. And so I just love that now at least that's sorted and you actually can have fun with that rather than feeling like, This is another thing I don't want to do in my business.
Yeah, and I think even now, like most of the time I'm able to sort of get through that. But, if I do get stuck on a graphic at all, I've got you to sort of bounce off again. And then it doesn't take long because it's only going to be a little thing or a couple of little tweaks that you can sort of suggest or, throw at me to go, oh, maybe we could just do this. And then it works all of a sudden. But it definitely helps, having all of those foundations.
Yeah, that's so true. For anyone who doesn't know, when you join a club, you get the 10 weeks really in with me. But then after that, you get another year's worth of ongoing support inside my course, DIY Design My Biz, and the Facebook group we have there. And so, as Ali said, it's not like it's a once and done, 10 weeks and then you're on your own again. It's like, no, I'm going to keep on being here with you. We're going to and I said to my clubbers when we finished the last round, I was like, you guys know that you're going to get so much help from me inside DIY because I know your business inside out now. I know your brand. I know what you stand for. I know who your audience is. And so when you ask for help inside DIY, then I'm like, I can do that really easily because I just know your business so well. And so the support is like I try to help everyone inside DIY, but when I actually know your business so intimately, like we get to in a club, then it's just next level accidentally almost.
And it's just so much easier for everyone because it's just a follow on from what you've already done. It's not like you're having to restart and rebuild those foundations every single time.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And so for you, what's been some of the biggest things you've had out of the experience? Do you feel like we've talked about that clarity, we've talked about kind of the ease of doing it. Is there anything else you've kind of felt in terms of maybe it's speed or whether it's just that fun piece or anything else?
Yeah, I think speed is a big thing. I can just I can just whip up a graphic now, and even when you're playing with things like trying to do a carousel post and trying to sort of match all the little bits up so that it follows on nicely for the next one. So I made one the other day and I think it took me 5 minutes. I literally just copied and pasted the text and then just whacked a few elements in and it was done. And it was so quick and so easy, and I didn't have to stress about it. I didn't have to sort of go, it's just not going to work and it's not going to look pretty and it's not going to, it's not going to tell the story that I need it to tell. It was just done and it was easy. And which brings in so much more fun to it because, you're not stressing about it, I guess.
Yeah. That's so good. And so if you were speaking to someone who was ever considering joining the club, what would be the kind of things that you might share with them?
I think probably how much I've done in that time. So I mean, we've created a website together and we've an entire website. And I've done business cards and workbooks and all of my social media graphics and
your whole brand.
What else? My flyers and my entire brand.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything so much more seamless. And I think that's probably, I think the value that I get out of it, the huge amount of stuff that would have taken me, I don't even know how long it would take me without you. It probably wouldn't be done. It wouldn't be done. And I would still be, playing around with things that didn't feel good and weren't fun. And I just think the ease of, and I'm trying to think of the word. I don't know what the word is. Just bringing everything together.
Yeah.
I think that's probably been the biggest thing for me. And that,
That's so cool. And so my last question is that there's a few different parts of the club in terms of there's the group calls that we have. There's the kind of pop-in office hoursy calls that we can have. And then there's a thread that you get inside the Facebook group. It's pretty much just an ongoing conversation with you and me where some people's threads are with me you could scroll for half an hour and still not get to the end of the thread. So posting links and I'm posting video feedback back and then I'm giving tips and then posting tutorials and all these different things. And so what was the most helpful part of the club that you found between those three different elements of getting my support?
I think the calls.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the time, your 15 minutes or whatever it is each, depending on how many people are in the call. Sometimes much longer than that. So
If people don't show up, you pretty much get the whole session to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got all of that time. So once you've sort of pulled all your bits and pieces together, you've got all of that time to be able to just work on it together. And, you know, and you're doing it in real time, and you can talk to each other, and you can look at each other, and you can play with things, and you can see it all on the screen. I think that's the most valuable, not only because of that reason, but also because when you've got other people in that call, there are so many things and questions that they have that they, you know, even if they've got a completely different business and a completely different brand, there's always something that you can get from someone else that you can take back and be like, oh, okay, I might do that. And I mean, there's been some things that obviously I haven't just copied them, but I've taken that idea and done my own thing with it. And it's just been, it's just been so much. Like you're not just having to just start from scratch when you've got all these other people who've got ideas that are great ideas, but you can also give feedback on all of them as well. That's so true. I love that you brought that up. It's like, that you like, say for example, the person before you on the call, like, so say just for everyone else's knowledge, we have like small groups inside the club. Like, say if 12 people join, then we don't have 12 people on a call. The groups are split into like 4 to 6 people so that we actually get time one-on-one together within that call. And so within that group, you're getting to know 4 to 6 other business owners, getting to know them and how their business ticks, and getting to see the behind the scenes of other people's businesses, which I think in itself is just so helpful. Then you actually get to see me helping them. And so like, say the person before Ali that I talked to on the call, they might have done carousels, and then Ali doesn't need to now ask me about carousels because she just learned it from watching someone else. And then she can ask me about something totally different for her business. And then that next person learns from what I taught Ali. And it's like this beautiful, like, collaborative environment. And like, I love it when like, because with design, in case you didn't know, there's no one perfect answer. And so there's opinions, and there's, does this work? Or like, what do you think? And so sometimes I'll like put it to the group and think, which font do you think we should use for Ali's brand? This one or this one? And people like give their 2 cents worth. And it's kind of like just really fun, collaborative space. And I love that. That's one of your favorite parts. It's one of my favorite parts too, because I just get to actually know business owners, and actually, instead of being alone in my business all the time, I actually get to hang out with other people. And I find that so fun. And there's also so much back and forth in that time as well. Like there's no, you don't just answer one question and then that's it, move on to the next thing. Like, you can spend 5 minutes or, 15 minutes on the one question because you've got time to make everybody understand it. That's so true. Amazing. Thank you for sharing your experience at the club. I've loved that. It's just such a powerful program. I'm so thrilled that you're able to join it, and so thrilled of what you've created in there, and like seeing you now posting like things about your workshop and posting new social media things and new things that you're launching. And it's like, look at you go, just sharing stuff with the world. And it just looks so incredible. And like, it doesn't look like you've got a newer business that you're kind of just doing as a kind of side hustle. It looks like this really, really amazing thing that is obviously amazing in general, that like your graphics are doing it justice. And that's just so cool. And so how can we get in touch with you? How can we learn about creativity from you? How can we find community with you? So I have my main platform, as I said before, is Instagram. So it's islandvillage_ at the end. And I have a Facebook group, which is just straight Island Village. I'm not in there anywhere near as much as Instagram. So Instagram is the best place.
Cool. And if you want to join that workshop with you in person, what are the details for that?
Sure. So I'm in Tassie, so it's an in-person event. You're more than welcome to book a flight and come over.
I have considered
from the mainland, but I would recommend Tasmanians. So like I said, it'll be a full 1-day workshop. So we'll have a bit of yoga in the morning, and then we'll have like some focus time to do some self-development stuff and work through the workbook. And then we'll have some a phone photography session. So just learning how to take nice photos with your phone.
Great stuff. If you want to do your own graphics, learning how to take your own photos is a very helpful skill.
Yeah, it is. And then we'll do some more focus time, and then have a sound meditation at the end. And we'll have a big lunch break and a few breaks through the middle. And so that's sort of what it'll look like. So it's on the 15th of July. That's a Saturday. And And then you could I'll obviously be posting through my Instagram, but all the details for that are actually on my website. And for my for my women's circle as well, all the details are on my website for that as well, which is islandvillage.co.
Yay. And I'll pop those links into the show notes as well for anyone listening or watching that wants to just click away. So thank you for your time, Ellie. I've loved hearing from you about creativity and your club experience and just how life and business looks for you. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Jacqui. It's been a pleasure.
So thank you for joining Ellie and I for that conversation. I hope you found it so insightful and inspiring and a little bit encouraging that even if you don't feel naturally creative, you still can be creative. And so have fun experimenting with that. Go outside, lay in the grass, go outside and just do some different things. Have a dance, be creative in all sorts of different ways. And if you're interested to hear more about the club, I would love to let you know a little bit more. So in essence, I'm only running the club twice a year and I've already run it once this year. So this is the final time I'll be running the club for 2023. It won't come back until 2024. And at which point I haven't logged in any dates for that. So I'm no idea when that will actually be. And so if you want to join, then the doors are going to open on June the 20th. And then we're going to get started in July for 10 weeks together in term 3, quarter 3 of the year. And if you're interested in learning more, you can either join the waitlist, and I put the links in the show notes for that, or you can join a workshop that everyone who joins the club needs to partake in, and it's only $27. So if you are wanting just to have a little bit of a learn and kind of grow your business and kind of start elevating your brand, because design is all about elevating your brand. You can have a really great business, but if your branding isn't aligned with that and doesn't share how amazing you and your business is, then you're not going to be attracting the clients you want to be attracting. Your business will kind of look like a little side hustle rather than looking like this really incredible business that people can actually invest their money into and want to pay for. And so if you're wanting to scale your business in 2023, if you're wanting to grow your business and to move to the next level, your branding needs to match that. And I would love to help you with that. So I've got what's called the Elevate Your Brand Workshop. $27 Australian, so even less if you're in a different country and you don't have to pay the GST on that, which is our Australian tax. And you can join that on the 19th of June. And so I'll put a link in the show notes that you can grab your ticket for that. But pretty much it's like the precursor. It's the foundation stuff that you need to know before you join the club. And so whether or not you end up joining the club, it is the perfect kind of kick off to, I really want to get serious about my brand and my business. I need to do this workshop, get the foundation right, and get these steps moving in my business so that I can actually take things to the next level. So if you're really ready for that next step, that next level, to actually feel confident in designing your graphics, like Ali said, to actually do those with so much more speed, then take that first step and join me on the 19th of June for the Elevate Your Brand Workshop. $27. Join me live for 2 hours. You're going to have lessons, worksheets, tutorials, and a live Q&A session at the end where you can get my actual feedback on your brand and your business. So thank you for joining me, and I hope I'll see you at that workshop very soon. All right, bye.